Okay, let's say I downloaded my data from a Qualtrics survey. I've got a survey here, and it looks like this. It's got a bunch of stuff in it. This is just an example survey that I used Qualtrics function to throw some random data into. It can give you fake responses, which is good for helping you learn how to score things. So I put in a thing called the CESD, and I named this item. Don't ever delete this right here. Don't delete that. It's best not to leave it as like Q121 or whatever, because that becomes columns in your data set. Oops, sorry, bad clicking. So I named it CESD. It doesn't really matter what I name it, except that it should tell me when I'm looking at my data, like where my data came from. With a matrix table, if I name this CESD, then the downloads are going to be the answer to this question will be CESD1 and CESD2, CESD3, etc. So I've got this 20 item scale here. Oh, it just has the headers here because I used some options. I chose some options over here to repeat those headers so people could see them a little more easily. So I've got that data. I downloaded it, and as you know, it kind of looks like this. Well, this is the CSV file. If it was an Excel file, it would have one less header row on the top. These header rows are kind of annoying, but there they are. So I downloaded that stuff and I put it into Excel. I just dropped this into Excel in OneDrive, and I deleted those two rows, rows 2 and 3, because JASP wants, and most SATS programs want, just one row of variable names. Everything else should be data. So here we go, and I can make this a little larger in case it's not viewable here. So here, there's a bunch of stuff in the beginning. I recommend just leave that. Don't delete it. It doesn't hurt anything. It just makes it a little bit, more fussy to scroll around and find the variables you want, but it doesn't change anything about your data, and there's a reason. I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, so here's my data. I called that thing CES_D. So I have questions CESD 1, 2, 3, and there should be 20 of them. And they end here. Now, important to know, because I had a manipulated variable, I checked the box in Qualtrics that says download randomized order viewing data, whatever that is. And so it downloads all my randomized viewing data. So back in Qualtrics, I have this button checked because I randomized the presentation of the questions, which for many scales is a reasonably good idea, just to avoid any little order effects if there happen to be some. There probably aren't big ones, but why not do it? It's easy, it's cheap. But what it does is it means that you'll have these DO. DO means like something order, display order, or something like that. I'm going to ignore those. I'm not going to delete them because every time I download my data, I'm going to download it exactly the same way with all the same columns. Like once I get my survey the way I want, then hopefully I don't have to change anything, and that can simplify some stuff. So I'm going to score this, but mostly what we do, if this was just a simple scale, I would score this, and this participant right here, I would just add up these 20 numbers and divide them by 20. I would just get an average. And the way we would do that, I would just insert a column here and always make it a different color. And so I'd call this like CESD score or something like that. And then I would use the average function, which is, if you type equals first thing, it's going to be a formula. So I click in the cell and type equals average. There's going to be it thinks it knows what I want to do. Probably, but I'm not sure. Average, so it's equals something special word and then open parentheses. And then in the parentheses, you put the cells you want to do the thing to. What I want to do the average to, I want to do it to these cells. Oh, get out of my way. I want it to do just this person right here, just their CESD scores. Notice I'm not doing the DO ones. I could probably hit enter, but just to be a bro, I'll hit close parentheses because every once in a while that's important. So that person's score is 1.75, and I would copy that. I just did a Control C, and then I'd scroll down to the bottom of my data, and I'd paste. And it's intelligent. It doesn't just paste 1.75 all the time. It gets the average for each person. So this one here, if you click on the cell, you can see up in the little box that shows you where stuff is. There's probably some name for that. Like this is row 49, S49 through AL49. This one is S45 through AL45, etc. So it's pretty smart. However, here's a problem. Because I'm a very basically good researcher, made that amazing. I looked up the article where that was introduced to the world, the CESD scale. There it is, the CESD scale. It's from 1977. It's almost as old as me. I remember 1977, and my concerns were thinking that my cool tennis shoes made me the bionic man because I was 8 years old. Okay, anyway, so that's when this thing was made. It's old, but people keep using it, and it's pretty reasonable. Some scales are like that. So here we go. I find this thing, and I'm scrolling down, and I'm like, what? So I actually spent about 10, 15 minutes reading this until I found stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that we don't need. What I'm hoping to find is the items themselves. If you don't find them here, you still have to cite this original article, but you need to go somewhere else to find the items. And then you need to be very careful that you actually found the items. Oops, I thought I found them there. Wait, where are we? Nope, that's not it. There's a table. You can tell this was literally sent in on a typewriter. The Times New Roman font is from the publisher, but then all this stuff was literally photocopied from the professors who typed it on their typewriter and nailed in physical copies of sheets. So, okay, the items are in here somewhere. I swear I found them before. I think, here we go. All right, so here it is. Table 1, the CESD scale. It has instructions. I used them. Below is a list of ways you might have felt or behaved. Please tell how often you have felt in this way. And then it says hand card A. No, they were like handing people cards with a response scale on them. No, we don't have cards, so I deleted that at least. So here it has those instructions. Below is a list of some of the ways you felt or behaved. I gave it a title that says feelings and behavior because it says felt and behaved. It's nice to give things a title. It's very nice and sometimes critical to give instructions because the way people answer the questions will be different based on the instructions you give them. This one says during the past week. You'll get different answers if you say during the past year or if you don't say anything there. You have to get some instructions. And if there aren't any instructions, you have to put something reasonable that fits what you want. And sometimes you can change these instructions for your research project if that makes sense, but usually you leave them the same. So here we go. And here's the items. I had to go type these out like a caveman myself into a computer. And so here they are. They're put into this scale here. So those are the items. Now I'm looking around to see if there's reverse coded items, and I didn't read as carefully as I should have, but I didn't see anything saying that there were reverse coded items. But there clearly are. So this question, I was bothered by things that don't usually bother me. So if you say most or all of the time, so 5 to 7 days out of the past week, then so if you give, so this is going to be coded 0, 1, 2, 3 because they have those recommendations. So if I say most or all the time, if I say 3, then, well, I didn't say 3, but the computer will tell my researchers that. Then, yeah, that's good. That means there was probably more depression. This is a depression symptoms, like being bothered by things that don't usually bother you. I did not feel like eating. It's unfortunate there's a negative item there, but still, if you said, this happened a lot, okay, not feeling like eating, lots of depression. But look at 4. I felt like I was just as good as other people. Depression doesn't do that. Depression makes you feel a sense of worthlessness in general. It definitely doesn't make you feel like you're just as good as other people. So that's a reverse coded item. And I've looked through here, and I had to kind of read this very carefully, and I found out that they put them in a pretty predictable place. There are 4 reverse coded items. Number 4, I feel as just good as other people. It's better if they list them for you. It's much better. It's better than relying on your own judgment. But I had to for this because I didn't see this. I was happy. That's another one. So and I felt hopeful about the future. That's not depression. That's antidepressant. And I enjoyed life. So it's 4, 8, 12, and 16. And I was looking at the pattern. I checked the rest. I don't think there are any others. So there are 4 items that are reverse coded. Now I could just dive into my data, which I put in OneDrive. So it's in this example folder, and it has this data set in it that I downloaded from Qualtrics. I could just look in here and say, oh, it's item 4, and it's item 8, and it's item 12, and it's item 16, but I don't know that for sure because weird things can happen with Qualtrics. So 100% always check your numbering and your recoding. First of all, you want to make sure that these were recoded as 0, 1, 2, 3. You want to, or at least you want to know exactly how they're recoded. Of course, the authors recommended 0, 1, 2, 3, so let's do that. That's the best idea unless you have a really good reason not to. So you click on this matrix item, and then over here in the options, you scroll down to where it says Recode Values. I'm going to click on that. So this used to say 1, 2, 3, 4, but I changed it to say 0. So if I didn't check that button, it used to say 1, 2, 3, 4, but I checked the recode values button, 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 is rarely, 1 is some of the time, 2 is occasionally 3. That's what the authors recommend. That's good. That's baseline. You do that. If your questions are in multiple items, you need to check this for every single item, no matter what, because weird stuff can happen. And it happens when you're editing. It happens sometimes when Qualtrics creates the questions. You just don't trust it. You always make sure your recodes are working. Now, I can't tell. I could go back and count 1, 2, 3, 4, but I don't know if Qualtrics thinks this is number 4, because if I added or removed any items while I was doing this, Qualtrics will make the numbering very strange. So I want to double check all my numbering. And you can do that by checking this box that says question export tags. This is what's going to be in your data. See, CESD 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. That's what's going to export. And so I can look at the one that says I was just as good as. Yeah, that says 4. Okay, so 4. I mean, that's a reverse keyed item. I felt hopeful. That's 8. So this is going as I expect. It doesn't always. Sometimes this could be 10 or 12 or 3 or 7. Like, you just really have to check this and make sure you know in your data which number is this. Which variable number or column number is, or column name is this. And then 12, I was happy, that's good. These all look good. And then 16, I enjoyed life. Okay. And that was all fine. So I can click cancel, I could click save, whatever. So I've got those numbers. But it has reverse coded items, so this is wrong. I'm going to leave that there. I'll redo it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight. You don't have to do this, but I sometimes have highlighting systems. You want to indicate new columns that you made. I just put those in red. But maybe indicate the ones that you need to do something to. I sometimes do that just to organize my life. So I pressed Control Y, which is redo the thing that you just did. So I'm going to highlight those so I know that I need to do stuff with them. These need to be reverse keyed. Well, unreversed. They are reversed. So this person who had said 0, they actually meant that they're not depressed, or that they're not experiencing that particular symptom of depression. Well, I put something in here in this example, like resources for students, example Qualtrics data thing that explains how to do this stuff. So I'm going to click on that, and it'll have some explanations. Feel free, please read this. The first sheet that says info has some descriptions of stuff, but it also just has tables for each of the options. This one says start at 0, and mine starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, over here, it says down here, if your scale starts at 0, then it's the scale max minus the response. So this maximum value. So I go back over here to this tab that says start at 0. And so me personally, I put this in here so you can pay attention to this so that you can get it. So any scale starting at 0, it's pretty easy to do the recodes. It's the max recode value minus the response value. So the maximum recode value for this scale is 8. And so if you click in these cells, like I click here, but then you can see what is typed in there as a formula. 8 minus that. So 8 minus 2 equals 6. 8 minus 1 equals 7. 8 minus 0. These are all 8 minus, 8 minus, 8 minus. But my scale doesn't go to 8. My scale goes to 4. So 4 minus. So you just want the maximum value. So I should be able to figure this out. So I'm going to say 4 minus. And always look at it for sanity's sake and make sure that it's working. So back to our data. I need a new variable. So I'm going to put this here. I don't want this highlighted. I just want it red. So I'm going to call this CESD for R for reminding myself that I've unreversed it. And I'm going to type a formula that's going to be, my scale goes from 0 to 4. So as I saw on the sheet, 4 minus that, 4 minus 0. So here I do equals 4 minus, and then I click on the cell I want to do 4 minus 2. Enter. There we go, that's 4. So I copy, oops, wrong thing. So I copy that, and I paste it down in my data. And bada bing, bada boom, there we go. This is the data I use to score the scale. I ignore this one because this is wrong and reversed. So let me do that for a couple more. create all those things. I'm going to make use of this format painter. If you double click it, then it will copy the formatting of some cells to some other cells, and if you push escape, it stops. So I'm going to do, this is CSD8R, oops, that's 8.4. That's going to be confusing in my data. CESD12R. I'm using tab to go to the right because Excel is easy that way. And CESD12 or 16R. Yeah, I shouldn't talk and do things at once, like make little podcast screencast thingies. Okay. So, and then I can just do this. Excel is smart enough. By the way, this is confusing to me. So let's do this. Let's freeze the top row so I can always see. Excel decided to stop scrolling like it does sometimes. So under View, I can choose Freeze Panes, Freeze Top Row. There. Now if I scroll, I can always see which variable I'm looking at. All right, so I'm looking at this here, and I'm just going to select all the way down here. I'm going to copy all of that. So copy exactly the same rows, 2 through whatever it is, and then I can click in the top part of that and do paste, and this doesn't score those other ones, it scores these 3. And this, paste, and this, paste. So that's done. Now I want to score my scale. My scale is going to be an average probably. If it's a sum, you can still do the average, but talk to me if you really want it to be the sum. All your stats will be exactly the same, or your results, but maybe you want to do the sum. Like some authors want you to do a sum. It's slightly more complicated, but not much. I can help you. It's super easy. All right, so this says average of that. Well, that's not what I want. I want average of something else. Let me make this a little smaller so I can see more of my rows at once, which is kind of nice. So usually starting up here, it's row 2. I want average. I'm going to delete this stuff. I want the average of the items, but every time there's a reverse coded item, I want to use the unreversed one. So I could type in S2, comma, because that's S2, T2, comma. Okay, that's really slow. You can separate things by commas, and you can select, once you started the equals something open parentheses, as soon as you hit the open parentheses, you can just click and drag. So I'm going to click, you want those, and then I'm going to do a comma, like on my keyboard, comma, and then I'm going to, no, I don't, come on, man. Can you just, like, be cool, please? Can we go back to Google? Google's evil, but at least there's stuff for it. Okay, equals average. I'm going to do that, comma, no, don't do the draggy thing, and I want that unreversed one up to the next, comma, not including the yellow ones. The yellow ones are bad. That's why I highlighted them so I could see that, comma, and that one, comma, and that group. I'm always including the red ones instead of the yellow ones in this particular case. Oops, that was a period. That won't work, comma. And then all the rest of them, and when I'm done, oh, it already has a closed parenthesis, so I can just do enter. So that's this person's real score here, 1.85. So I copy that and paste all the way down to the bottom of my data. There we go. So it's got those groups. Now, if you ever want to see what's going on with your formulas, click on the cell that has a formula, and you'll see what the formula is here. You'll see the result of the formula in the cell. Go click on just anywhere in the formula. Try not to change anything. And then you'll see that Excel or Google Sheets or whatever will highlight all the cells that are being used in that formula. So you can see, oh, good, I did. I left out the scales I didn't, or the items I didn't want to. I can just press escape to make that. I'm going to stop doing this thing. All right, now we're not quite done yet because, I mean, you could be done, and then CESD score, that's what you would put in, that's the variable you'd choose in JASP for whatever that is in your research design, in your study. But for sustainability and saving myself, not sustainability like environmental, just sustainability so that I don't have to do this again, is what I'm talking about. Let's move all this stuff, all the variables that we created, all the columns that we created, let's move them. Let's move them way over to the right of our data so that when we paste new data in, we don't have to change anything and the formulas keep working. So I'm going to start here. In Excel, you can just do a drag thing. Otherwise, you might have to select the entire column and then copy, or sorry, and then like cut and then paste and then go back and delete the. I leave an extra space or two just in case, but I'm going to put that there. I probably don't need the extra space. So I moved that one. You want to make sure you didn't leave a blank space. If you do cut and paste, then you have to go back and cut leaves an empty column. By the way, I'm selecting not by getting there, I'm clicking on the letter, and that selects the entire column. And when I do that, I hover my mouse until it turns into a hand, and then I'm clicking and I'm dragging. I'm scrolling with my fingers while I'm holding down the button because I want to go all the way over here. Here's my other. There we go. And let's see, where's my next red one? There were 4. Let's select the whole thing. Let's drag it over there. So the dragging wasn't scrolling nicely, so I'm just holding down the button and scrolling on my laptop trackpad, and then I let go of the button, and that's where it is. And you can do cut and paste too. You don't want to do copy and paste. I mean, you could, but then you're just leaving stuff in that you have to clean up. But anyway, last one for these, except I want to move all the columns that I have created because I want I want which variable, which data is in which column to be exactly the same if I paste in new data again. So I'm going to move the score too. Plus, then the score is at the very end of my data, and when I'm scrolling in JASP, in those little variable selection windows, I just scroll to the very bottom, and that's where it is. All right, so here's this data. Now, the benefit of moving those things out of the way, you don't actually have to. You created the score variable. That's all you really need for the analysis. But what if you get more data? Well, that's the situation here. So I got more data. Oh, wow, there's more. And so here's my new data. This is my janky on my computer, not quite Excel thing. So here's my new data. I want to select everything from the very far left and the top, but only data, like none of these word things here. I want to start selecting there, and I'm going to select everything in this data. It's ugly, that's fine. It will paste just nice. It'll paste just fine when we get there. Oops, I went too far. All right, you're seeing the dangers of extra selecting. All right, so I'm going to scroll down here, and I think that's the end of my data. So let me go back and make sure I got everything. I did. So I'm going to copy this. See, I didn't select any of the top words at all, just my data. So I copy that, and then I go back up here. And notice how my data only goes down to 76, because there's 75 participants. And let's say, and then I downloaded stuff from Qualtrics. I didn't delete the new stuff. I could just have selected only my new stuff, and you can do that if you want. But it's a little easier to do this. Just select everything, and Qualtrics saves everything for you, and it'll give you all your stuff plus the new stuff. So if I click there in the first numbery thing, it shows numbers, but that just is because the cell was too short to show everything. But if I click in there and just do Control V, paste, hopefully we should be going up. Now this goes up to 101. Now we have new data. And, it didn't keep all my highlighting here intact, but I don't really care because everything's going to work. So if I scroll over here now this was V2. V2 is way the heck back over here. These formulas are working as they're supposed to. It's looking back there. And this scoring thing is doing the right thing, I hope. Let's see. It might be having a hard time highlighting because it's kind of confusing. So it's got all that stuff, and it should be highlighting our unreversed items too. It might not. I might have to tweak. Very strange. I think Excel might not be doing this right. Anyway, I might have to tweak this. But anyway, assuming I go and tweak that later. Here, these guys don't have scores, so I just do this. I select all that, and I copy it, and then I just paste the formulas down for my new data. I didn't have to redo the formulas. I'm going to have to redo this, though, because Excel bizarrely didn't transfer. Okay, anyway, I'm going to end this. That's enough. I'll go fix that later. Something to pay attention to, though.